Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here, and welcome to World of Warships. This is going to be the start of our Veteran Player Guide series. If this is new to you or you're new to the channel, I've been playing World of Warships for now over 5 years. I have done a beginner new player guide series and an intermediate player guide series. Those still have videos coming to them periodically. But then now it is time to start the Veteran Player Guide series that I want to do here. I've been wanting to do for a while, but felt like I wanted to wait till I got a little bit more experience before finally doing here. So there's going to be a number of things that I hit on with this series. These are things that are going to be subjective, right? Maybe you could say some of the things are objective, where you see facts and evidence of these types of things happening in the game a lot, but probably more subjective, just based off my own perspective, feelings and opinions of what do I see in the game after 5 years of playing, maybe more now considered as a veteran player here in World of Warships, with the experience that I have. And then these type of things that we'll cover in the Veteran Player Guide series will be kind of like the good, bad, and the ugly is the best way to phrase it. So there'll be very niche things that I hit on that I think a lot of the player base doesn't think about, that you see happening at a much more higher skill floor here in the game of World of Warships. There are things that I'm going to hit on that a lot of players make mistakes on, even myself at times, to kind of fall into the oops, I shouldn't have done that kind of thing in making mistakes. And then the goal, of course, with this series is to try to help as the player base get better. Now, maybe my attempts are in vain because honestly, in the last 5+ years as a whole, things kind of continue to go down the toilet, so to speak, in terms of what we see happening in World of Warships. A lot of the development decisions that Wargaming has been making has pushed away more of the veteran player base, those who've been maybe in the beginning with the game when it first started, with CV submarines, that type of thing. So I'm not going to get into all that, but that means, one, we're losing players, but then we have more newer players in the game. So that's kind of the hope with the new player guide series and this intermediate player guide series, and then the veteran player guide series, to try to help players just become that little bit better in the game. So with that being said, what is it I'm going to be focusing on in today's video? Well, you probably saw it in the title, and it's talking about the classic throw. And what do I mean by the classic throw? Where your team is positioned and it really has a good, let's say, map control. You have cap control with the points coming in. And basically your team has set up, they have all the ingredients set for the win. Now, the goal is to hold on to the win, right? And not doing a quote-unquote classic throw. So I'm going to pause the video at 2 points. I'm going to tell you when we've kind of reached that superb, okay, this is like the ideal place for us to be in. And then I'm going to pause it again, and I'm going to tell you this is where the throw is beginning to clearly happen early on, with how this in general, classic throws. I'm not talking about the throws that happen in like the dying seconds of a match, but it's the ones that's like really obvious early on that, oh, this isn't going well for our team. So what we've done here right now, I'm going to be talking a lot in this Veteran Player Guide series about map awareness, mini-map awareness, awareness of enemy ships in your teammates around you a lot throughout this series. So what's happened here is we've just killed 2 enemy ships, and we have control of A. The enemy team has pretty much left it mostly uncontested, which is really good for us. So we've established control down here at A. Now my goal here is I want to push the Montana away. I don't want him to really think about coming back down here at A, because at this point, as soon as we've taken A, you know, there's still 10 enemy ships or 9 other enemy ships at play. So where are they? Well, they're all up north, back in behind B and more behind C. So now that we've established control this part of the map, we really need, our team needs to reposition quickly in the sense of helping alleviate pressure off of our teammates that are probably going to be more focused by the enemy team because they're just in a greater number there. But at the same time, we need to be defensive thinking. So here's where we have good map control. We have control of 2 caps now. We have almost or over 100 points lead. And so if you look on the mini-map, our team is actually pretty good positioned in terms of defensive positions. No one's overextended. I mean, we have our Holland. He's fine. He can go on ahead. Our submarine can go on ahead and do scouting, those type of things. But right then, after we've flipped B with the Jaeger, we have a pretty good setup for the win here. So this is where now things are going to begin to shift and becoming the classic throw. So one of the things that a good portion of the player base struggles with, as our poor Jaeger is just getting absolutely wrecked by the hybrid planes that are spotting him, and he's just getting smacked. So it probably wasn't so good for him to come out from behind the island, but he was just being mercilessly spotted, and the spotting was getting him killed from the enemy hybrid planes, even though there's quote-unquote technically no CV here. And you already see me typing in chat, I'm telling the Wisconsin don't push any further, because if you look at the mini-map, who else can the enemy team see right now to shoot? I mean, all of our team is basically behind islands right now. So the Wisconsin here is going to be enemy number 1 to the enemy team, and they're going to start focusing really hardcore. So you can see me kind of pointing it out with my mouse when I was just seeing this classic throw unfold. And there's nothing, like, he would have had a way better game after we've established A, B. He could have set between here, A and B, turned around, kind of got in a kited position, because what happens when you take map control and you take control of the majority of the caps, it's up to the enemy team. If they want to win, they have to push you. And typically, an enemy team that has to push into a defensive position lineup is always going to suffer worse off than the defending team, right? Normally, generally speaking. So you're going to see me employ a lot of WSAD hacks, mainly propulsion, and going forward in reverse as we have the 4-slot propulsion mod, and we're going to get an obscene amount of potential damage, maybe the highest I've ever gotten in terms of this tier 10 American light cruiser, the Worcester. Okay, so here I'm about to pause it again because we just lost our Donskoy up at C, and this is where things really begin to fall apart because we've lost 4 ships now. And what you have happening back in behind B and C is, I call it the hornet's nest, where you have a large portion of the enemy team is congregated all together, and you don't really want to push in. You don't want to poke the hornet's nest, right? You don't want to poke the wasp nest, because as soon as you do, they will start focusing you hardcore. And on this map, it's not like Ocean, right, where you don't have any islands. Now you see our Patry. He's going to go ahead. I'm looking at him like, okay, he's going to die now. He's now going to be overextending because he's got spotting from the planes, but also I think there's a destroyer and there's a submarine. No, this is destroyers up at sea. But he's going to overextend himself. And he's pushing into the hornet's nest. So he's losing hit points really fast. You can see it's not taking much time for him to die here. It's like low-hanging fruit, right? It's like when you see your team, you're in a good position to win, and you see it looks like you have the enemy team on the back foot, which you do, right? And then you see players just one by one throw their ships. Now the Donskoy got rushed, so I'm not hating on him too much or anything like that. But you saw the Wisconsin overextend. You saw now the Patry, he pushes out and overextends. So that's just not good here. So what we're trying to do here with this light cruiser is we want to push in behind the island here at B, and we want to take a defensive position. And we also want to be able to use the high arc on our shells to lob over islands. So that's, I'm going to be using this southeastern end of this, or just the south end of this island, to really be able to effectively put shots out on the enemy team. And we're going to continue to kind of be aware. Now, the other thing you have is we have a battleship down at like I6. So if he, honestly, at this point, if he pushes out or if he goes around the edge corner of the island towards Bravo, he's screwed, right? Because you can see there's 2 battleships pushing down. There's a cruiser pushing down. They have a destroyer that was spotted there a while back. Now, here I don't understand. You have our next contender who's throwing away his ship. Being a quote-unquote the submarine. You can see me pointing out the Montana because I'm just like, oh, it's so annoying that he pushed out past the island, because he's gone to the point of no return where he has to really push in, because otherwise he's going to die if he tries to turn out. But the submarine player decides, I should sail right up underneath the enemy fleet. That would be really smart of me. That would be really impactful of me. And he's going to die at the same time that our Sejong dies, I think, in between moving to some islands. Because, again, the spotting from the Commissar is really being a disadvantage for our team right now. Because spotting is, like, huge in the game of World of Warships, right? So the enemy team has advantage on us just between having that Commissar with the hybrid planes. So here we've take out the Satsuma. We have 122,000 damage now. I'm switching to the Grozovoy. And as you lose teammates like this, even though we still have control of both Alpha and Bravo, there's going to be, and you have a greater number of enemy teams, like the pressure on light cruiser players increases because you don't really want to get caught out because the enemy team will focus you quite fast, right? So we're having to be smart player on the island. I don't know what happens with the Holland. He's being chased down by Smalland, and Smalland is a super OP destroyer. So that doesn't do him well because of the radar that the Smalland gets with good guns and decent torpedoes. So not good for him. You can see we have our other battleship friend who's fishing here, our Montana. You know, we're looking back in on him. It's like, oh, he's not doing too well. And we're going to reverse back here. You know, and it's helpful, like if you're in a more like a battle cruiser with something with armor or a battleship, to try to take pressure off your teammates. But it's really hard to try to do that in a light cruiser. You can kind of bait yourself, put yourself out there. You can say I get spotted, I'm going to come back in. So I do want to kind of present myself as low-hanging fruit so that maybe the enemy team will take some shots at me and ignore my Montana as he's really trying to get away. But now Smalland is just farming him from a long range. So it's really not good. So, but you can also tell of some of the things that you've heard me speak on, besides it being a classic throw, is the enemy team lineup. They've got some ships that work into their advantage in certain situations that the players are exploiting really well right now, which is good for them, honestly. So it's knowing your ship's strengths, knowing your ship's weaknesses, but it doesn't mean you still can't pull and win, right? And that's part of knowing and understanding the enemy team lineup as we lose our poison. And I've done videos, I think, on that before, but I'll probably do another one here in the Veteran Player Guide series. So when and that makes all that more important of trying to avoid the classic throws. So if you kind of understand the ship lineup, and you can see that, okay, we have a little bit of an outmatch here with the Smalland, with his radar and guns and torps, right? Our Holland, as an example, will be on the back foot on the engagement. They have spotting from a hybrid cruiser. That's not going to work into our advantage. So that increases more of that understanding that when you do take map control, like we have had on Alpha and Bravo, and then are having more of a defensive positioning and not just overextending and throwing ourselves. So I can't stay at the island anymore. I could. Maybe if I had something like a Minotaur torpedoes, usually then I'll play around the island because then you become a little bit more of a threat. But there's nothing stopping an enemy team from just pushing right up on you when you don't really have that torpedo threat. There's a different word I want to be able to use as we're trying to get some shots there on the destroyer. And you're going to watch our potential damage bloom a lot here. So maybe there's some things you can just pay attention to when it comes to my accelerating, re-accelerating, or deaccelerating, and some rudder shift work, but mainly just using our propulsion here. So you can see just even here slowing down, and you can see that they shot a lot over us right there, and up to 1.2 million potential damage. So it's just a matter of time before we lose here. You know, it's not like I just want to go broadside per se and just like fire my guns and die. If I can milk a little bit more damage, because I'm trying to work on some of my stats with the Worcester. But we're going to go ahead and start accelerating again here, and it makes it really unpredictable for the enemy team to be able to try to figure out how they should aim appropriately, right? But we'll use our damage control party, and we'll cycle our heals through this as much as we possibly can. So the Swan did what he needed to do. He went through, he secured A. Not like we're a real threat left at this point, because it's just me now. But I hope this really points out to you the classic throws that you'll see. If you're going to push the Hornet's Nest, I mean, it's kind of like you have to push it as a whole entire team together. I was waiting for my guns to get turned around before I started opening up again, so I wasn't just trying to stay dark with the one guy saying whatever in chat. So I just wanted to have max DPM before I started re-engaging them again. So yeah, sometimes you'll see that in the game, right? But understanding when you start seeing your teammates kind of one by one, kind of sacrificing themselves, throwing themselves into the Hornet's Nest, right? After your team already has control of the map, you have control of the caps, that's when you'll begin to see these classic throws. So just be mindful of that. I guess my encouragement would be try not to be one of those players who overextends yourself into the jaws of the Hornet's Nest, into the enemy team, when it becomes more strategic, right? That you're playing a defensive and just letting them push, because when you let the enemy team push into you, it's always better off than overextending yourself into the enemy team. So with that being said, this is going to be over 500,000 credits at 200,000 damage with just one kill. We got Confederate. Halsey would have been fun to have on here. I run him on Des Moines Salem, but because I liked him there, but it would have been fun to get Confederate, because you can kind of spread the damage around when you have some decent range with Worcester on an enemy team setting fires. But I do an IFHE build, inertia fuse high explosive build, so I'm getting I'm pinning past the 32mm threshold. But you have a lot of high tier battleships where other commanders might want to focus on a fire build, setting fires, but I just like the raw damage. So yeah, so that was over 2 million potential damage, all said and done. I think that's probably my record for this in Worcester. Light cruiser, just accelerating, deaccelerating, there's a lot of power in that, and making yourself live a lot longer and being able to dish out more damage and maybe make some of those game clutch wins decisions in the game. And his is with premium account credits all said and done. Sorry if my voice is sounded a little off. I've kind of been recovering from getting sick and whatever. So with that being said, this is the Veteran Player Guide series, the start of it, and I look to have more videos. I have a lot of thoughts and videos that I want to be able to do, whether it's kind of talking about critiquing the player base in general. I include myself in that because there are definitely times I still make mistakes, of course. I think we all make mistakes, even though we have like well intentions. But this series is if you're wanting to become a even better player in World of Warships. I know some people are much more relaxed. They just want to chill. They don't care, and that's fine. That's totally fine. But this video series, or these 3 video series, have been geared towards players who want to be able to improve their skills here in World of Warships. So with that being said, if you liked today's video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you're subscribed, thanks so much. I appreciate it. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Until next time, take care.